Hello and welcome back to Paris Underground Radio's The Heart of You. My name is Annette Deleu and this is episode 10. Angel Guidance. How to get messages from your angels and from the universe to start living your best life right now. Every single person on this planet has a spiritual entourage. This is a group of beings or souls or angels that essentially help you along your life path. Now, first we're going to talk about angels. Every single person has at least 2 angels that are assigned to you from birth until the day you die. They are here for you for every single portion of your life. They are here to guide you and to help you get through the lessons that you're supposed to be learning in this lifetime. They also will help you to achieve your soul's purpose. There are times in your life when maybe you need a little bit of extra support, and during those times, you might actually have more angels by your side. So if, let's say you have 2 to start with from birth, if you are going through a divorce or you're going through grieving from a death of a family member, you might have 6 or 7 other angels that are here by your side, helping you get through this tough situation. In those cases, those angels are there temporarily and will go on to do other things after they have helped you with that situation. Each angel has their own specialty and their own sort of energetic personality. When I feel into various people's angels when I'm giving readings, I can tell which angel is the cheerleader, the one that's always rooting for you, the one that is always happy and keeping you on track. And I can always tell that angel that is a bit more on the serious side, that is helping you learn, that is helping you really get through those lessons. We choose our angels prior to incarnating, and we do it to complement our particular personalities that we will have on Earth for that lifetime. Maybe you have worked with specific angels for many lifetimes, and so you want to continue to work with that angel in this one. You might be wondering, if I have had at least 2 angels by my side at all times since my birth, how is it that I didn't know that they were there? And I will challenge you to think about and feel within yourself about those times when you are making a decision. People always joke about having a devil or an angel on each shoulder. And while the devil doesn't exist and neither does hell, angels do exist. And when you have that little whisper in your ear of, maybe I should do this, and then your angels are actually telling you to do something else. When you have that dilemma of which choice to make, if you make the choice from your ego or from fear or from any other lower energy, that may not be the right choice. And so what your angels and your higher self are doing, they're giving you a little nudge that, hey, maybe that's not the right decision and maybe you should go in this direction. I'm very sure that you can think back to quite a few instances such as that example, and you will be able to start seeing the presence of your angels in your life and wonder how you didn't see it before. Before becoming aware of your angelic team's presence, your angels have to get pretty creative about communicating with you because they cannot interfere with your free will. They cannot interfere in your life from that standpoint because that is the beautiful part of living here on Earth, is that every soul, every person has free will. Your angels can't intervene unless it is a dire circumstance. I'm sure you have heard situations where people talk about near-death experiences and where they saw an angel come and save them or something to that effect. So in really sort of emergency situations, angels can intervene, but for the most part on day-to-day life, they cannot interfere without your explicit permission. If they don't have your permission to intervene, they will do certain things to help keep you on track. Giving you signs is one of the most common ways that angels will communicate with you. So if you see constant numbers repeating, if you see 111, 222, or any particular pattern of numbers constantly repeated, that is a sign from your angels that you are either on the right track or maybe you need to change course. There are many websites online that actually you can look up those angel numbers and it will tell you what the message is. Another way they might communicate with you is through objects or symbols. So if you really like otters, like I do, I get signs of otters all the time if I am on the right track. When you are seeing these types of signs, sometimes it can be very difficult to interpret what the message is. There have been times when I've received signs over and over and over again, and if you are continually seeing that sign, that might mean that you are not getting the message. So you might have to actually figure out ways to interpret those messages by asking questions of your angels. The other thing that you can do is you can tell your angels, hey, I'm not understanding the message. Can you please give me a sign of butterflies, or, you can pick any symbol you would like. Can you give me a symbol of butterflies if I'm on the right track? Or can you give me a symbol of a dragon, and that means that I may be walking into something that might be unpleasant? Here is a really great real-life example from my experience several years ago. I was receiving a sign in the way of numbers 319, and that is my birthday. And so I didn't quite understand what the angelic message was, but I kept on seeing the numbers absolutely everywhere. I was seeing them on clocks. I was seeing them on license plates. I even once saw the numbers 319 in brass letters attached to a wooden door. And I knew that it was a significant thing, and I couldn't figure out what it was. Now, because the numbers were indicating my birthday, I thought, oh, something amazing is going to happen on my birthday, and they're just giving me a heads up that, hey, this is going to be really amazing. No. Absolutely not no. That was not the case at all. Usually, if you've gotten the message, if your angels have effectively communicated with you, then you will stop seeing those signs. You will stop seeing those numbers. I, however, did not stop seeing them. They just continued on and on and on. Going into my birthday that year, I was getting together with a bunch of friends. And of course, we were all having drinks for my birthday. And one of my friends just started laying into me and saying some pretty awful things. And I, of course, took it incredibly personally. With the alcohol, that didn't help the reactions at all. It also probably didn't help my interpretation of what she was saying to me. My angels were trying to warn me that this was going to happen. And had I actually known what my angels were trying to tell me, had I known what the warning was, it may have saved me and my friend maybe 2 years of heartache and horribleness. I mean, essentially, it ruined the friendship. And had I known ahead of time, based on my angelic guidance, I may not have reacted the way that I did. I may have been able to take a step back and see the bigger picture and understand why that particular event happened in my life. But at the time, I was not there yet. I was not in that space to be able to understand why things like that happen in life, and to understand that even if somebody says something cruel to you, it's okay. You can move on. You can forgive them. You don't have to necessarily be friends with them anymore, but you don't have to hold on to that anger, because that anger actually ended up having a pretty serious effect on me for the next several months, even into the next couple of years. So had I listened to my angels, had I understood the message, I would have been able to save myself from going through that experience. But here's the beautiful part about how the universe works, is that it doesn't matter. It actually does not matter, because the fact that I had to go through that and that I didn't get the angelic message means that I just simply learned that lesson the hard way. I still learned the lesson. It just took a little bit longer, and I had some more experiences along the way. And maybe those experiences were much more beneficial for me in the long run anyway. I used to worry all the time that, oh gosh, what if I interpret the messages wrong? What if I don't hear my angels correctly? What if I'm not understanding the warning well enough? And the answer is, it does not matter. They're here to help us, and their messages for us are always going to be for your highest good. And so if you don't get it right away, it's totally fine. Your angels are going to give you plenty of time and plenty of warning to sort of course correct if you need to. And even if you drive straight into that brick wall like I did on my birthday that year, you can still course correct after the fact. So let's talk about communication. How do you communicate with your angels? Most people communicate with their angels pretty regularly, and they don't actually realize they're doing it. Anytime you pray, or if you are sitting there thinking, oh, I would really love it if this happened, or if I was able to get this job, or whatever it is that you're sort of wishing or praying for, you're in essence talking to your angels. The biggest difference is if you don't know they're there, then you don't know to listen and understand what they're saying to you back. Speaking to your angels is quite easy. There is something that I say every morning, and I got this little prayer from a gentleman named Radley Valentine. He is an angel trainer as well as an angel card creator. He has created a ton of angel card decks. So if you ever want to check out his decks, you can go to radleyvalentine.com. The little prayer or mantra that I learned from him was, thank you, angels, for helping me in all things, in all ways, across all directions of space, time, reality, and dimension. Let there be no limit to the ways in which you can help me today. And that is a beautiful way to just generically ask your angels for help. And when you're asking for help, saying thank you and adding that gratitude portion is always really great to do, because the universe loves gratitude, right? The more gratitude you have, the more you have that comes back to you. I invite you to simply say that little mantra, that little prayer, every day before you leave the house or as soon as you wake up. And notice the difference of how your day goes. Notice how things just sort of fall into place. And those appointments that you double booked, all of a sudden one person will just call you and say, oh, I'm sorry, I have to cancel. It's amazing how things literally will just start working out. Then, of course, you can also ask your angels for help on specific matters. Using the example of a job, if you're looking for a new job, you can ask your angels to help you find the job that is in your highest good. Now, the one thing about asking your angels for help is that if you ask for specific things, you might be a little bit disappointed. And the reason is this: your angels have a much bigger, broader vision of what your life trajectory is going to be. If you are asking for something that is really specific, like I really want this job, your angels are seeing what is going to be happening way into the future. And maybe you are looking at this job as it is the best thing that you could have ever possibly imagined. But in reality, you might actually be miserable at that job. So if you all of a sudden get rejected for this job, you might take it really personally and start thinking, oh, my angels aren't listening to me. That is not the case at all. We will be right back with the Heart of You after a word from our sponsors. Welcome back to the Heart of You on Paris Underground Radio. So what you want to do is you want to be very general about your wishes. So if it is about a job, you can simply say, "Thank you, angels, for helping me find the best job that fits all of my desires. My desires to have abundance in money, my desires to have time off so I can travel and spend time with friends, and my desire to make an impact on the world." That is just one example. If you want to talk about relationships, if you are looking for a romantic relationship and you're looking for that one true love, I can tell you right now that if you are trying to manifest a very specific person, it doesn't always work like that. So definitely keep your requests very general. So I would say something like, "Thank you, angels, for helping me find the most loving, compassionate partner that I could possibly have. I would love to have a relationship that is based on mutual trust and understanding, and somebody I can walk through life together and have a partnership with." Something to that effect. Whatever it is, you can put in your own words, your own desires, really kind of check in with your heart space to figure out what it is you truly want out of a relationship or out of that job. If you are just going for what society is telling you to do or what your parents have always told you that you should have, that may not be what is for your highest good. So really check in with yourself about those intangibles. And I'm not talking about, oh, it needs to be a job in this location and it has to be doing this particular thing, or my romantic partner, he has to have blue eyes or he has to have dark hair. It doesn't matter. You have to actually make sure that you're checking in with those intangible feelings. And that is what is going to bring you what is for your highest good. Now, this is a little preview of manifesting. So we're going to be doing an entire episode on manifesting later on in the season. So don't worry, we will be covering that topic. So that is the easy part. Talking to your angels, asking them for help and asking them to assist you along your life path. The more difficult part is actually listening and hearing what your angels are telling you. Now, there are various different ways that you can do this. This is where your divination tools come in handy, because tarot is one of the ways that I learned how to speak with my angels and to hear their messages. You can use any method you choose. For me personally, it was tarot. I will say that it is a bit of a learning curve. Because when I first started using tarot, I would pull a card and I would see its meaning. And if it was something that was a challenging energy, I would be completely off the rails. Oh my God, it's the end of the world, that kind of situation. And, super dramatic, but it wasn't the case. Basically, your angels are going to give you the card that is the most accurate for that time. But obviously, they're speaking to you with a very limited language of what the tarot can give you. So until you are able to really check in with your intuition and learn how to use the tarot cards, sometimes the messages can be a little bit rudimentary. I want you to, when you first start out, if you're going to use tarot cards, take it with a grain of salt initially. And then once you get better at it, once you get more comfortable and start understanding how to interpret the messages, then you can start digging deeper for larger messages, for more complicated answers, that sort of thing. This is a really good point in time to start talking about the 4 clairs. Now, I'm talking about clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairsentient, and claircognizance. Every single person on the planet has all 4 of these clairs. Every person has more dominant clairs as well. For example, for me, I am more clairsentient. I feel things. So whenever my angels are telling me that I'm on the right track, I get these really what we call angel bumps or chills that come all the way up my spine, up to my shoulders, and down my arms. And that happens to me during my readings when I know that I'm saying something that is really important for the client. I know when I'm trying to receive messages from my angels, if I'm getting the message correctly, that's the feeling that I get. And that has been the case for most of my life, where I have a tendency to feel things first before being able to see, hear, or know them. Now, if you are predominantly clairvoyant, clairvoyance basically means all-seeing. So you might start seeing those signs that I was talking about earlier. You'll see those numbers everywhere. You will start seeing things that confirm that the message you are getting is accurate. Claircognizance is just that knowing. You might actually there's something you just know and you don't know why you know it, you just do. There's no rhyme or reason to how it is that you have this knowledge, but you know it is absolute truth, and you know that is true for you as well. Clairaudience is hearing. It's being able to tune in to the various things around you. So your angels might communicate with you via songs or through conversations other people are having. I've tapped into my clairaudience occasionally where I might just be walking down the street and I'll hear a few people speaking behind me, and their conversation is simply a message for me. And I know it right away because it's about something that I have been thinking about or a decision that I've been trying to make, and all of a sudden there's a person next to me talking about that exact same subject. Another way that I used my clairaudience, and this was a super easy one, and I may have talked about this before, was when I was deciding whether or not to move to Paris. I was in Chicago, and everywhere I went, there were people speaking French. It didn't matter where I was. I wasn't even in touristy areas where people would be vacationing. Everywhere I went, I'd turn around and there would be people speaking French. So that was my sign. If you are interested in finding out which one of your clairs is the most dominant, there are plenty of little tests that you can take online. If you just want to type in clairvoyance or four clairs test or something like that, you'll probably be able to find one. The best way to know really what your dominant one is, though, is actually just kind of looking into your heart and tapping into your intuition. And it's not going to be something that's going to be super surprising to you. So you'll know from a very early age that maybe you gravitated towards music all the time, and that's how you get your messages. And it's not to say that you don't have the other clairs. You absolutely do. So you will tap into any one of the four at any given moment based on what the situation calls for. Don't think that if you're dominant in clairsentience, that it means that you don't utilize the other clairs. Your angels are going to utilize whatever they can in order to communicate. So if your clairvoyance is much more active in a particular moment, they will take that opportunity to give you your messages and your signs in that way. You want to know the really cool part about all of this? Is that once you start noticing the signs and the messages and start interpreting them, your angels get really excited because they're super happy that they're finally able to communicate with you. So these messages are going to just start coming and coming and coming. And they're going to, basically, you're going to be like, oh my God, I had no idea that my angels had this much to say to me. But now that you're paying attention, they're like, yay, we can finally talk to you. Be prepared that when you start doing this and when you start realizing what's happening, that your messages could start coming pretty fast and furiously. Don't worry, though, you'll have plenty of time to interpret them and act on the decisions that you need to make and that sort of thing. Here's the big question. How do I know what I am getting are actually messages from my angels and not just thoughts that I have in my head? It's a really tough one. And in order to figure that out, you really do need to practice. You need to practice what it feels like to have thoughts and acknowledge your thoughts. And that's where mindfulness, meditation really comes into play and is super helpful for trying to determine which of those things are actual just thoughts that you have running through your head and which of those pieces of information are actual guidance. Take a look at a thought and imagine where that thought came from. Most of the time, if it is a thought you have in your head, you can trace that thought back to where it originated. So let's say if you started hanging out with a friend of yours, hanging out with that friend reminded you of something you had to do later on that day. And then that led to another thought, to another thought, to another thought. You can actually see the beginning of where that thought originated. If it is guidance, most likely you will not be able to trace it back. Anytime I get guidance, it is literally something that pops into my head. I had not been thinking about that thing prior, and all of a sudden there's just something in my head that I did not put there, essentially. Another really great way to tell the difference is your angels will always give you messages that are loving, that are helpful, and that are coming from a place of peace. If the message you're getting is fearful or negative or hateful in any way, then that is most likely your negative self-talk. It is most likely your ego. They are your fears that are coming through. If that is what is happening, I want you to take a step back, do a little meditation, get into your heart space, and clear that energy. If you really feel like it is a message that you are not understanding or that you are not getting, feel free to ask your angels to give it to you at a different time when you are more aligned with receiving the message. That is the one thing that you have absolute full control over. You can communicate with your angels and tell them how you would like to be communicated with. So if it's not the time, you can simply say, angels, you know what? Now is not the time. Can you please stop giving me signs? I can't figure it out right now and I'm dealing with some other stuff. That is perfectly acceptable. Trust me, your angels have zero judgment. They do not want to make your life more difficult. And if things are happening that are making your life more difficult, please tell them. It goes the same for when you are sleeping. And this happens to me quite often where my angels will bombard me with messages right before I'm going to sleep or right as I'm waking up. Because when you're in that state of just before going into deep sleep and into that dream state, your angels know that you are way more receptive to receiving messages. So they might bombard you with messages right before you are about to go to sleep, and you absolutely cannot sleep because there's just so much energy going on. If that is the case, you can simply say, angels, thank you for the messages. Can you please put a pause on those messages until tomorrow so I can get some sleep? And trust me, they'll do it. I've had to do that many times in the past, and I have been able to sleep absolutely perfectly right after asking them to put a pause on those messages. We will be right back with the Heart of You after a word from our sponsors. Welcome back to the Heart of You on Paris Underground Radio. That is the one thing I wish I knew when I first started this journey, is how much control you actually have over how you receive messages, when you receive them. You have the control to be able to communicate with your angels, with the universe, to be able to create a communication system that works for you. When I initially started getting my messages, and especially through the tarot cards, I would receive the message and just think, oh, well, okay, so this thing is going to happen, and I guess there's nothing I can do to change it. And that's absolutely not true. When your angels are giving you a heads up, it's because you can absolutely change the outcome of what's going to happen based on your decisions. If you are on a certain trajectory for a particular outcome, it is 100% up to you to make different decisions so you can have a better outcome. That is the whole purpose of your angels communicating with you, is so you can avoid things that may be unpleasant or lessons that you may have already learned and you don't need to repeat again, and that you simply are repeating them because it is a cycle that you are stuck in. You have the power and you have the sovereignty to be able to create the life that you want. If you have any questions about how to communicate with your angels or anything else regarding angels or any other topics we have covered on this podcast up until this point, please feel free to email me at annette@infinitesoullove.com. The last episode of this series will be episode 20, in which I will be answering all of your Q&As that you write into me throughout the season. Feel free to send me an email and I will compile all of those questions for the end of the season. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to speaking with you next week for a new episode of The Heart of You. I want to thank Paris Underground Radio for producing this episode, and you can find more wonderful podcasts on Parisian living at parisundergroundradio.com. Don't forget to follow me on social media at Infinite Soul Love 1111. If you would like to book a reading or a session with me, feel free to head to my website at infinitesoullove.com. Thank you so much. Until next time.